Okay, good evening, everyone. Oh, a couple of people here. I'd like to, again, welcome you, and it's time to call this special call board meeting of the San Felipe Del Oro CISD Board of Trustees to order. Today being Thursday, June 27, 2024. Mr. Secretary, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Luna Chavez,
Present.
Mr. Overfelt,
Present.
Mr. Mesa,
Here.
Ms. Guanajuato Webb,
Present.
Ms. Haynes.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting has been duly called and posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Anyone turn in anything? No citizens. Okay, under a consent agenda, we have a couple of purchases. Item H, if there's any question about that item, now's the time to ask any questions. And I know that this was presented at the Safety Committee meeting. And I just have one for TFOS. The only question I didn't ask there was, you know, sometimes we buy, whether it's technology or software, and it's not compatible with the entities. I just want to make sure that the entities, whether it's the fire, first responders or the ambulance or the sheriff's department, have you made sure that this item we're purchasing is compatible with our communication systems?
Yes, sir. When I spoke to the vendor, they assured me that it integrates with the current CAD systems that both the sheriff's office and the city of Del Rio use for communications.
So it is compatible. When I looked at the
Yes, sir.
video, it only has about 4 or 5 different things it's compatible with, and I don't know what they use. Like, let's say the Emergency Operations Center for the city. I don't know, what their system is.
It's integrated with the communications divisions, their CAD systems where they use their radio systems, and it's designed to be inside their dispatch center, where they're constant receive all their calls, and when something happens, it's their dispatch centers that send the officers.
So, do you know if, was Mr. Salinas involved in making sure that the entities have the equipment that we're going to be sharing information with?
No, when I spoke to the vendor directly, the vendors assured me that they've done it before, and it's part of the program that it integrates with the
Okay.
responding CAD systems, the radio systems, and communication
Okay,
systems.
I just want to make sure it's compatible because, again, that's one question I failed to ask at the meeting. Anyone else? And this is the school safety allotment, Dr. Rios.
Yes, Mr. President, this will be paid with some of that grant money.
Okay. And is this an annual thing or is it a one-time?
Mr. Mesa, the initial payment is a one-time, but after that, they promise to maintain the same fee for how many years, Chief?
10 years, sir.
10 years after that. It'll be $30,000, I believe, is.
Yes, sir, $30,000.
Okay, so initial fee is the large amount that we have here. And then For the next 10 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, I guess that includes any updates or anything that might be
Yes, sir.
provided for us.
Or updates that we ourselves may do to it.
Okay. And again, some of the questions that I asked you to make sure that, like, for example, the students that walk across the street to the university, where Mr. Overfeld is, that perhaps we can go ahead and ask the company to see if we can also have it available. I don't know if we're,
Yes, sir. I will reach out
Okay.
to the vendor to see if they can
okay.
make that part of the mapping system.
And anyone else with a question? Okay, that's the only item that we have under consent agenda. If no further questions, I will ask for a motion, entertain a motion. Motion made by Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Next item we have is under administration, item 10A. Again, discussion, possible action regarding use of school bus passenger vans for transportation of baseball team of district students to tournament. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, I'm presenting the Babe Ruth League, which is comprised of district students, has earned the privilege to play in an upcoming baseball tournament in Starkville, Mississippi. And the baseball team sponsors have requested the use of a school bus or passenger vans to transport our students from Del Rio to Mississippi for the location of the tournament. The tournament is on July the 16th. They'd like to use those vehicles July 16th through the 22nd.
Okay. Any questions from board members? Mr. Overfeld.
Mr. Almaraz being out of town sent me a letter to read in, or a message to read into the record about it, if you're fine with that.
Sure.
It says, Dear Dr. Rios and board members, I'm writing this in regard to the district buses possibly being used by our local Del Rio Babe Ruth All-Star team. As you all may be aware, the team is managed and coached by myself, along with 3 other assistant coaches. Please be aware this was not something that I ever intended to happen, as the request was made by a sponsor on their own. I will remove myself from this due to optics and my direct involvement, and understand that it may or may not work out for the team. Regards, signed, Diego M. Almaraz, Jr.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from anyone? Would you read the recommendation, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mesa. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution of the board regarding the use of school bus or passenger vans for transportation of the Babe Ruth League to a tournament in Mississippi.
Thank you so much. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Next item we have is under Business and Finance. Item 13A, consideration to approve the 2023-2024 final amendment budget for the general operating debt service and food service funds. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The following 3 agenda items are all related to business. And the first agenda item that we're going to cover is the 2023-24 final amended budgets for the general fund, the debt service fund, and this food service fund. The second agenda item we will cover is the resolution to commit fund balance from general fund. And the third agenda item is to amend the 2024-2025 general fund based on the commitments that you assigned the resolution for. Sorry. So for the first agenda item, it's the 2023-2024 final amended budget. So this slide is just a summary. You do have a packet. There should be 3 exhibits. Each one is an agenda item. That is the detail. I know it's a little hard to read. It's small. It has a lot of information. But this is a summary of what's occurring for those. So on Exhibit 1, page 1, that is the general fund. These are our final amendments for the 2023-2024 budget year. We are proposing a revenue budget of $106,152,504. So there is a budget amendment to increase our revenue of $3,578,250 for this month. On our expenditures, there is no amount of amendments. It's just being moved between the functions. So we're not adding any additional amounts to our expenditure budget. But for the 2023-24 year, we're proposing expenditure budget of $122,178,190, which brings us to proposed budget deficit, which includes both our operating activities and our committed project activities, a deficit of $16,025,686 for the general fund. On the second page of your Exhibit 1, page 2, is regarding our debt service fund. For the 2023-24, again, I'm submitting amendments that are just being moved between the revenue sources already, so there's no increase or decrease to the budget for revenue. So our proposed ending revenue budget for 2023-24 will be $5,604,496. For our expenditures, I'm not proposing any additional amendments at this time. So our proposed expenditure budget for debt service will be $5,094,275, resulting in a proposed budget excess of $510,221 for our debt service fund. And then the third amendments we have is for our food service fund. That's on your Exhibit 1, page 3. On our proposed revenue budget, I do have amendments to increase the revenue budget in the amount of $747,500, which will bring us to a proposed overall revenue budget of $8,437,674. For expenditures, we also have an increase in the budget of $747,500 for our expenditures, bringing us to a proposed expenditure budget of $8,288,378, resulting in a proposed budget excess of $149,296 for our food service budget. That's for that item.
Questions from board members? Amy, on the proposed budget excess, which is the food service fund, is that the fund balance?
No, sir, that's just the amount the excess that'll be for this operating year. On the reports that you have, I don't have it on here, it does have what the estimated fund balance will be. It's at the bottom.
This is for this year, but the total, the total fund balance for food service will be $2,591,086.
That's based on budget projections, yes, sir.
Yes, based on budget projections.
Now, on the proposed budget deficit, that includes the committed,
Yes, sir.
which is, it looks like humongous,
Yes, sir.
but it's really not that huge.
Correct. A lot of that money, Mr. Mesa, was money that the district had allocated for the completion of Ceniza Hills. If y'all will recall, we passed a bond for only $19 million, knowing that we could do the rest of it from local funds, and we set aside money in previous years to make sure that happened. So that's a big part of it.
Because it can be very confusing. So really, the deficit, we're saying it's $2,144,000 correct?
Yes, sir, it's a lot
Okay.
closer to that.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
just want to make sure everybody understands, because this budget process is difficult to understand. Okay, any questions at all from board members? If not, the recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2023-2024 final amended budgets, which includes the general fund, the debt service fund, and the food service fund.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Come on, people. Mr. Orfeld, make the motion, seconded by Mr. Alindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to,
Wait.
oops,
Two more items.
two more items.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I thought you were dealing with that's only the first one, A.
Yes, sir.
B, consideration to approve a resolution to commit the fund balance of the general fund. Amy Childers.
Good evening once again. So again, this is for our general fund, and as you can see on the slide, this has to do with our estimation of our actual activity. And for the 2024 fiscal year, for our operating activity forecast, we are forecasting revenues of $101,396,226, with total estimated expenditures of $103,540,984, which brings us to a deficit for our operating cost of $2,144,758. For our committed projects, we did receive in revenues the $1,250,000 in revenue from the city. And then our expenditures on our committed projects, our actual expenditures are estimated at $5,658,180 for a deficiency of our committed funds of $4,408,108, which brings us to a total estimated operating forecast for both operating and commitments, a revenue of $102,646,226, with expenditures of $109,199,165, resulting in a deficit of $6,552,938. When I add this to our audited fund balance for the beginning of the year of $41,405,585, we are estimating an actual ending fund balance for the 2023-2024 year of $34,260,363. Now, we do have our estimated minimum fund balance, which is our 75 days cash on hand, of $22,232,469, which would bring us to an estimated excess fund balance of $12,027,894 for the 2023-24 year. From that $12,027,894, administration would like to recommend the following projects be committed to the 2024-2025 budget. The first section of items are current 23-24 committed projects that we would like to roll over. The first one is the Cody Wardlaw Gym renovation. The first amount is the $1,250,000, which was received from the city. The second is the Cody Wardlaw Gym renovation, the district contribution of $1,252,124.25. The next item is the construction documents for the sports loop or water loop in the amount of $55,000. We have district HVAC repairs in the amount of $7,560. The Del Rio Middle School parking lot in the amount of $1,200,000. We have money left over from insurance for roof repairs in the amount of $66,793. We have Life Skills Furniture in the amount of $236,649. Special Population Classroom Furniture for $77,976. Fencing, safety standards, safety and security equipment in the amount of $168,316.83. And we still have expenses for the remodel of North Heights to Cardwell in the amount of $44,593. In addition, we would like to commit the following projects. We still have the security fencing at Cardwell in the amount of $223,878.80. We have Garfield, we have 3 HVAC units for Garfield in the amount of $245,000. We still have expenses for the electric charging stations at the transportation in the amount of $50,000. We have some miscellaneous purchase order carryovers in the amount of $42,043.95. We have, we'd like to commit money for a retention stipend in the amount of $1,900,000. And also commit funds for the purchase of property adjacent to the San Felipe Memorial Middle School in the amount of $50,000. That would be a total committed funds of $6,869,934.83 is what we're asking you to commit at this time.
Mr. Mesa.
Dr. Rios.
Mr. Mesa, members of the board, if I could just shed a little bit of light on a couple of these items. First part is that for most of them, it's not a commitment to spend it, it's a commitment to set it aside. There are a couple items that I want to highlight. On the Cody Warlaw renovation from the city, that's money that we can't spend because it was money the city gave us as conditional money. Then if we move down to the retention stipend, I'm not saying that we would give $1.9 million in retention bonuses to teachers, but we did want to set enough money so that between now and September, the board could decide what that amount would be within that limit. The reason we are recommending 1.9 is for 2 reasons. One, it's right about the money that we didn't spend this last year, that we were able to save through, really not on purpose, it's just the salaries, vacancies, et cetera. Okay. And the second part is that 1.9 gives the board the opportunity to give up to $1,250 as a retention stipend in September. We're saying September is because if we're saying retention or return to work, it would be based on when they actually return to work. And some people don't come to work until August, or contract doesn't start until then. So that's why we picked 1.9. Again, we're not committing the board to doing the 1,250. We are just leaving it as an option for us to discuss. The purchase of the San Felipe Middle School property, we still have that one piece of property there. We have not been able to close that deal. The last word I got about 30 minutes before the meeting started is that they wanted to increase that price. We're not ready to go down that path. We may have to come back and ask that we commit additional funds if we're not able to resolve this. But we're still trying to purchase that property because it's right between the rest of the properties that we own. That's why that is there. The miscellaneous PO carryovers, we have to do those because we already have POs. We're either waiting to receive the material that we bought. Charging stations, we're also in the middle of having those charging stations commissioned sometime this week. We had talked about the Garfield units before. Security fencing at Cardwell is underway. The remodel to North Heights and Cardwell, we still have some parking lot work to do. If you remember, we had a plan to make that parking lot safer. That's why that money's still there. The fencing, safety standards, safety and safety equipment, that's, has to do with some of the work that's ongoing. The furniture, we just haven't paid for it. I believe that at this point, we've received all of it. Roof repairs, we just want to leave that money there in case something does happen throughout the year, that it's something that we could do without coming to the board to tap into fund balance money. Now, on the Del Rio Middle School parking lot and the Cody Ward Law, we believe that we can do that for a significant, less amount of money, obviously not carrying out the project. And we just want the opportunity to share with the board and the city of Del Rio and the county what that reduced amount would be, and then have the board decide if we want to go through with that project. But just not ready to say no to it entirely. When we asked input from board members, from the people that did respond, it was about a 50-50 split. We just like the opportunity to tell you this is how much it would actually cost. And we believe that the city would get some money back, and so would the school district. So we just want a chance to be able to share that with you. The construction documents for the water loop, those have been ongoing, so the work is commissioned. We just need to pay it. And they're about 90% done with that. So if you have any other questions, I can go into more detail.
Sir, I have one. Why is it that the security fencing cannot be taken from the student safety allotment?
Well, for two reasons, Mr. Mesa. First, the requirement is that we first meet all the aspects that are required. And from the safety allotment, the last amount of money that we received, there are two things that we have to do before we can spend the money on something else. One of them is the mapping system. The second one is finish paying for the film. Once we finish paying for all of that, then we can go above and beyond on the requirements. And having a 6-foot fence around the perimeter of the building is not a requirement if you meet all the other requirements, the film, the locked doors, everything else. And there are some minor things that we still have to correct. I don't think the price will be as high as the money we set aside for the audit that is going to happen, I think sometimes this school year. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah.
So Chief, on this mapping, I'm sure that other districts cannot afford that amount. How are they getting through with that requirement?
I'm sorry, Chief, I'll take that is part of the requirement, and that is part of the grant that they've given us. So for example, we're not using local funds, we're using the grant funds from the Cycle 2 grant. So
Yes,
other
sir.
districts should have Cycle 2 money as well to be able to do this. That's how we're doing it.
I just wonder, why we can't wait, especially the card wall. I mean, it's got a fence and it's pretty high. It's not the type of fence that we want, but so we could wait, for some more safety allotment money.
Well, unfortunately, the answer is we could have waited, but we had planned on doing Cardwell. The work has already begun. So if you drive by there, some of it's already demolished and erected. So we've already signed that contract.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution committing the fund balance of the General Operation Fund as discussed.
For the recommendation from administration, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Orfeld. Is there a second? Mr. Galindo, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We go on to item 13C, consideration to approve general fund budget amendment for 24-25. commitments from fund balance. Amy Childress.
Good evening once again. So this is now just committing, so last week, we adopted our 2024-25 budget. This is now the amendment to amend the funds to include the commitments that you just approved. So in doing so, as you can see, we will have a deficit budget of $2,961,526. When we add the amount of commitments that you just approved, $6,869,935, brings us to a total deficiency of operating and commitments for the 2024-25 budget of $9,831,461. When brought against the estimated fund balance for 24-25, it brings us to an estimated ending fund balance for the 2024-25 year to $24,428,903, with an estimated minimum fund balance of $21,629,841 for our 75 days cash, which will leave us with an estimated excess fund balance for the 2024-25 year of $2,799,061.
Questions, Dr. Rios?
Just a clarification. This is our budget that we approved. The actual fund balance increase, decrease, that doesn't happen until we do the audit. And the audit, Ms. Childress, is scheduled for?
They will begin on it in the third week of July. It has to be finalized by the end of November.
So the end of November is when, officially on the books, we would see all of it. But this is the budget that we've worked and are recommending. The rest is not, we have to work with the auditors, but we're not the ones that do the audit.
So again, the question I was asking, the carryover funds from this year. Could you point them out on the budget?
I'm sorry, correction.
Yes.
Okay, this year was a deficit. There are no carryover funds. The only carryover funds would be the fund balance that we didn't spend. So we spent $2,441,000 more. There are no carryover funds.
Well, I'm saying from the different campuses, for
Oh,
example,
I'm sorry.
I can get that
and
for you.
different departments.
If there was, I could get that for you if there was any.
Was that?
I could get that for you. I don't have it at this time.
Okay, I just, from the different departments, I'm talking about leftover money that we are going to carry over for next year. Whether it's campus or departments.
So, okay. The projected deficit was higher than the $2,400,000. So the reason the reason the projected deficit is not as high is because there are some, whether it be campuses or departments, but mainly payroll that didn't spend as much money. So we will be able to share with you which line items spent less than they did. However, I don't want anybody to have the impression that there was carryover funds. It just means that our deficit was not as high as we otherwise thought it would be because some people didn't spend all their money. But the biggest ticket item in there is that the payroll wasn't as high as we had anticipated, whether it be due to vacancies or hiring people at less amount of money. And so we'll definitely put a report together and share that with y'all probably well before July is over.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. No other questions, recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the general fund budget amendment for the 2024-2025 commitments from fund balance.
You've heard the recommendation. Motion made by Mr. Galindo, second, Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the time is 6:35 p.m. Though no other business, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to policy 551.074 and 551.071. If any action is required, it will be taken upon reconvening into open session. We are now in closed session. Okay, the time is 7:32 PM. We're reconvening to open session. We're down to item 18A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The administration would like to recommend the following new hires. Ms. Sydney Salas for teacher, fifth grade teacher at Buena Vista Elementary. Clarissa Jimenez, first grade teacher at Ruben Chavita Elementary. Mia Martinez, kindergarten teacher at Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary. And Monica Saldivar Perez, second grade teacher at Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18B, consideration to approve the position of principal for Blended Academy. Sandra Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Ms. Alda Zuniga for the position of principal for Blended Academy for the 2024-25 school year.
For the recommendation, is there a motion? Motion made by Becky Chavez, seconded by Mr. Orfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Item 18C, possible action regarding district representative to appraisal district. Dr. Rios.
Mr. Mesa, members of the board, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees authorize the superintendent to take action as discussed in closed session regarding the district representative to the appraisal district.
For the recommendation, there's a motion by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. There being no other business on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? The motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you and good night, everyone.